All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are going to perform something of an autopsy on opposition. We're going to dissect exactly why it feels like the moment you start something significant, you almost always trigger a significant attack. And our case study for this is just perfect. It's Ezra, chapter 4. I mean, have you ever felt this? The moment you decide to step out and build something that actually matters, maybe it's in your career, your family, or a ministry you're really passionate about, it's like, boom, all hell breaks loose. The second you break ground, resistance just shows up. It's this universal and frankly super frustrating experience, right? Well, here's the thing. What we're about to see is that this chapter, Ezra 4, it's not just some dusty old history lesson. Think of it more like an ancient intelligence briefing. It's the enemy's timeless playbook, and believe me, it is still being used today to try and stall visionaries and builders just like you. So, okay, let's dive right in. So, the very first tactic. It's always the sneakiest one, right? It doesn't show up looking like an enemy with horns and a pitchfork. No, it arrives disguised as a partner, offering you a helping hand. Just listen to how reasonable this offer sounds. The adversaries, they walk right up to the builders of the Second Temple and they say, "Hey, let us help you build, because like you, we seek your God." It's like, we're on the same team. Let's do this together. I mean, on the surface, who in their right mind would turn down more resources and a bunch of willing workers? But the leader, Zerubbabel, he gives them a hard no. And this is where it gets really interesting, because you have to understand the difference between the offer and the reality. This wasn't some kind of prejudice on his part, it was profound wisdom. Zerubbabel knew that partnering with people who were practicing this weird, compromised version of worship, a really dangerous blend of beliefs we call syncretism, he knew it would corrupt the very foundation of everything they were trying to build. So he made a tough choice. He chose purity over pace. And to really get why that no was so absolutely critical, we have to dig into the core motive of the opposition. I mean, what was their real goal? The Bible actually uses a very, very specific word to describe these guys. The Hebrew word is tsar. Now, it gets translated as adversaries, but it means so much more than just enemy. The root of the word literally means a narrow, tight, or constricted place. See, the goal of the opposition isn't just to stop a building project. The real goal is to squeeze you, to constrict you, to completely suffocate the spiritual breath and the physical space of God's people. This is a battle for the very room to worship freely. Okay, so that's tactic 1. Let's move on to the next phase, because this is where things really escalate. Once that Trojan horse gets rejected, once the subtle infiltration fails, well, the opposition drops the friendly mask, and they move straight to open aggression. And these tactics, they escalate methodically. It's not random. First, they just try to discourage and frighten the builders, the people on the ground. But when that doesn't work, they take it to the next level. They start hiring counselors, bribing officials. They launch this whole campaign of bureaucratic sabotage, what we'd probably call lawfare today, designed to just completely frustrate the plans from the top down. Okay, now this is where the chapter structure gets really brilliant, but also a little confusing if you're not ready for it. The author does something kind of strange. He hits pause on the main story, back in 536 BC, and gives us this flash forward. It's like a montage of legal attacks that happened over the next century under different kings. And he does this to prove a really critical point. This opposition, it wasn't a one-time thing. It was a long-term, strategic war of attrition, fought with letters and legislation. I mean, this is basically the ancient version of a multi-decade corporate sabotage campaign, or a legal battle just designed to wear you down and bankrupt you. And just listen to the venom in their formal complaint to the king. They don't write, "Hey, they're building a house of worship." No, they frame it politically. They call Jerusalem that rebellious and wicked city. They're completely rebranding a spiritual project as a political insurrection. It's pure spin. And their argument was so clever, so calculated. They went straight for the king's biggest fears. They basically said, "Look, king, if you let them rebuild, they're going to stop paying their taxes, which will hurt the royal revenue. And even worse, they'll become a threat to your national security." See what they did? They attacked the project by attacking the king's wallet and his power. And the truly heartbreaking thing? The strategy worked. The king actually searched the archives, and he found that, Jerusalem did have a history of rebellion. So he believed the lies in the letter. He issued a royal decree. And just like that, the opposition was given the full legal authority to march into Jerusalem and stop the work by force. So after showing us that whole century-long legal battle,
The author snaps us right back to the main timeline, around 520 BC. And what we see is the devastating result of all that sustained pressure. 16 years. For 16 long years, the work on God's house just stopped. A complete standstill. The whole project fell silent, totally crushed by fear, intimidation, and bureaucracy. Can you even imagine the emotional toll of that? All that hope for a new beginning just buried under a mountain of paperwork? The visionaries just watching the foundation they laid gather dust? This wasn't just a delay, you guys. This was a deep, demoralizing silence.
And this is the moment of crisis, right? The opposition has, for all intents and purposes, won. The vision is completely stalled. But this brings us to the most important question in this whole chapter. Is a forced pause the same thing as a final defeat? And the answer to that? Well, it depends entirely on what we choose to do in that silence.
And this is our final and maybe most powerful takeaway. The mandate, when you're facing this kind of opposition, isn't always about finding some clever workaround to keep building. No, sometimes the mandate is simply to hold the line. It's about recognizing the enemy's playbook, guarding your boundaries, and, this is crucial, not abandoning the site just because you can't swing a hammer. The real challenge for us, when our calling is being constricted, when we're feeling that SAR, is to stay present, to hold the line in relentless prayer, and to know deep down that a pause is not the end of the story.